It is said that we have to become an ascetic by renouncing the world for the attainment of enlightenment. What exactly do you mean by the term renunciation?
You are asking whether renunciation is necessary for the spiritual aspirant. But normally, if you want to do any work, we have to concentrate the work. For that purpose, some external arrangement is necessary. So in the peaceful atmosphere alone, we can do the necessary work. So many gurus, many masters advise renunciation to their disciples, and there is a custom to go for a renunciation. And the renunciation, the way of renunciation is very much associated with the spiritual world. But really, renunciation is necessary only to the psychological world. Psychological world, renunciation is a must. But in the physical and external world, renunciation is not good. But there is no disparity, there is no division between the spiritual aspirant and an ordinary person with regarding to my point of view. Here everybody is same. There is no division, there is no difference between the ordinary person and the spiritual aspirant. Psychologically, we must renounce everything. We should not select anything. We should not possess anything. If we possess something, thereby we assume a personality. Our possession alone gives us a personality. Otherwise, there is no personality to us. There is no personality to us. But externally, we have to do something. We have to be a responsible person. Psychologically, the responsibility alone is the mischief doer. It's the only real defect. It is the only problem. Taking responsibility inwardly is the real problem. But externally speaking, we must take responsibility. We must take all the responsibilities. Then only there is a balanced living. So psychologically we must be free, and physically we should not be free. Physically we must be a responsible person. We must be a responsible to ourselves. We must be a responsible person to the family. We must be a responsible person to the society. But psychologically, there is no such status. Taking responsibility alone gives us the status. Psychologically, we should not possess any status. We must be nobody. We should not be somebody. But physically, We must be static. We must be somebody. We must do something. So that is the basic thing that we have to understand. But wherever, whatever we are doing, wherever we are living, in which circumstances we are placed, we must have some reactions. We must have some response within our mind. We must have some psychological responses. That is inevitable. But what we have to do is to ignore the psychological responsibility. The psychological reactions may be a good one, it may be a bad one. We have to ignore it. We need not give weight to the psychological responses. For example, if we walk on the way, our shadow will follow us. Our shadow will fall back upon the ground behind us. Wherever we walk, wherever we go, the shadow of ourselves will fall on the ground. The shadow may fall upon a good land. The shadow may fall upon a beautiful grassland, beautiful meadow. It may also fall upon an ugly gutter. It may fall upon an ugly land, an ugly thing. But there is no difference within the status of our shadow. We need not worry about the shadow. We need not try to transfer the shadow from the ugly thing to the beautiful thing. We need not remove our shadow from the gutter and place it in the meadow. So in this way, wherever we go, whatever we do, there may be certain reactions within ourselves. That is natural. We need not agitate with our reactions. We should not have jealousy. We should not have anger. We should not have sorrow. We should not have fear. We need not worry about that. We need not agitate like that. Whatever may be. So that happened naturally. That is a natural response of our psychological structure. But if the reaction is necessary to manage the situation, we can adopt the reaction. For example, we are living in a house and sometimes all on a sudden one lunatic person may enter into our house and we at once got anger upon the lunatic person. So we have to deal with the lunatic person. We can make use of the anger. There is no harm in using the anger upon the lunatic person. Thereby we can manage the situation. But if you are adamant that we should not use anger, we should not be angry, if you give importance to the concept that we should not be angry any time, that is not necessary. So if we can, if we want, we can adapt for the situation. So what is the main thing we have to understand here? Whatever we are doing externally, it must be just and according to the natural justice and natural justice of the situation. We must apply it honestly. We should not apply it cunningly and dishonestly. So we have to follow the rule of the land and the good values. We have to follow the good values with regarding to the external circumstances. Because we are living in a society where we have to adjust with other people. So we have to follow some rules and regulations. So our action in the external situation must be perfect and according to a justice of the situation. For that circumstances, for the management of the situation, we can very well use the inner responses. For that alone, we can use the inner responses. Otherwise, there is no responsibility for ourselves to deal with our inner responses. We have no obligation, we have no responsibility to deal with our inner responses. If it is related, if it is necessary to deal with the external situation, then only we can adopt the inner responses in our hand and make use of the situation, make use of the instincts to the situation. But correcting the psychological perfections, correcting the psychological responses is not necessary. There is no psychological perfection as we imagine. Somebody may think that we must be perfect psychologically, we must be perfect inwardly. But this is not correct. There is no such state. If we propose some psychological perfection, that is the only problem. That is the only nuisance that we have to manage, we have to handle. In no way, there is no responsibility for us to correct ourselves psychologically. As we have already seen, all our psychological responses will go away within a fraction of a second. We know and identify our psychological responses only it is over, only after it is completed. So we need not correct our psychological responses. If we want, we can adopt, we can renew for the external situation. But instead of that, if you try to control our psychological responses, thereby we give life to the psychological responses. Thereby we give life to the psychological problem. So that is not necessary. That is the only problem.